Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah. I heard a very heartwarming story from Rabbi Yitzchak Breitowitz, big Talmid Chacham from Israel. There was a great rabbi called the Klausenberger Rebbe. The Klausenberger Rebbe lived in Hungary, and in the year 1944, the Nazis invaded Hungary. We all know the war ended in 1945, so relatively close to the end of the Holocaust is when the Nazis hit Hungary. And when the Nazis realized that the end was near, instead of slowing down, they actually speeded things up. And during that year specifically, it was a terrible time in Hungary. The Klausenberger Rebbe lost his entire family, I believe 10 kids and his wife in Hungary during that year. It was Hanukkah time, and the Klausenberger Rebbe was intent on making sure that they would be able to light the menorah in the camps. It was not easy. There wasn't oil and wicks just lying around. The rabbi managed to make wicks out of old pajama strings, and he was able to make oil out of old rancid margarine. That night, the first night of Hanukkah, everybody gathers around, hundreds of Jews, when the guards aren't looking. The rabbi says, the first night, there's 3 berachot. There's the berachav la'alik ner shel Chanukah, the berachav shasani sim labutenu, he did miracles for us, and finally the last beracha shechayanu v'kiyimanu, Hashem, thank you for keeping me alive during this special time to be able to do this mitzvah. So the rabbis by the candles, he says the first beracha and the second beracha, and then he pauses before he says shechayanu, and he pauses for a few seconds, he looks around, and then he says shechayanu and he lights. Okay, they lit for a few seconds. They put out the candle quickly in order that the Nazis wouldn't find out. A man comes up to the rabbi, a man that obviously we shouldn't judge ever, completely lost his faith entirely. And he went to the rabbi and he said, Rabbi, I'm off the program. It is what it is. I'm not a believer. But I ask of you, how are you able to say the beracha of Shechayanu during these terrible times? I understand you're saying a beracha on the lighting of the menorah. I get that. I understand you're saying a beracha that Hashem did miracles for our fathers back in the day. I get that as well. But to thank Hashem for keeping you alive in these times, you know how many people would rather die than be in this situation? You know how many people go to sleep at night saying, I hope I don't wake up in the morning? How are you able to say, Shechayanu, Hashem, thank you for keeping me alive during this horrible moment? And instead of the rabbi telling the guy, you're terrible, you're a rasha, get out of my face, how can you talk so badly about the mitzvah of the menorah? The rabbi nodded and he said, that's a phenomenal question. And I had that same exact question. That's why I paused before I said Shechayanu. And I really thought, how can I say Beracha Hashem, thank you for keeping me alive, if I really maybe am not so thankful for being alive? But then I realized that in this darkest of times, a time when everyone is hopeless and dying, I looked around and I saw hundreds of Jews still standing doing the mitzvah of the menorah. I said, Hashem, thank you for allowing me to witness all these Jews that in the darkest of times, they're still able to keep their faith. Hashem, thank you. And I lit the menorah. The lesson of Hanukkah is, specifically, it's in the darkest time of the winter, in order to tell us that even in the darkest times, there is light and Hashem is with us. I think the lesson of Hanukkah is even more apropos this year than ever before, or at least since the times of the Holocaust. In these darkest of times, the times when Israel is suffering the most, the times when we're the most unsure in our own country what's going to be, where it's not even safe in our own schools and colleges, during these times, specifically in the darkest of moments, we've also seen the greatest of light. And we've seen even Jews that aren't necessarily on the path scream Am Yisrael Chai, and soldiers that never wore tefillin in their lives, or tzitzit in their lives, are wearing tefillin and tzitzit. We're all coming together. We're judging each other less. We're seeing each other's differences differently than we once did. And specifically during the times where it's darkness, that's when the light shines the most. The lesson of Hanukkah is that just like the light shine bright for the Chashmonaim in the darkest of spiritual times, so too it will shine brightest for us soon. Rabbi Amenu, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.